your job description is a lie. It was written to get you hired, not to help you make decisions on a Tuesday afternoon. That gap between what's on paper and who actually decides is where careers go to die. And no amount of clarifying roles meetings is going to fix it.
So this applies only to jobs that actually require making decisions, which is pretty much all of them these days.
I didn't know where you were going with that one. Clint is back on the podcast. Clint, I'm under the impression that you write a job description or two or participate in hiring.
I do a bit of that.
Okay. You might be just the person we need to talk about this. Welcome back to Arguing Agile. And if this is your first time, welcome. I'm your host, Product Manager Brian Orlando. And this is my co-host, Enterprise Business Agility Consultant, and the Duke of Decision Rights, Mr. Om Patel.
Instant promotion.
We're joined today by Clint, Mr. Clint Murt.
Welcome back.
Happy to be back.
Clint and I had a discussion at a networking event, and that is that's how the genesis of this podcast came up. We were talking about role maxing, which probably won't be the title of this podcast. And we were having to talk about role maxing and said if the job description is the wrong artifact for let's clarify roles, then what is the suggestion to modern businesses? And I think that we both agreed. I don't know. So we decided let's bring it to Om. Let's see if he has an idea.
I have none. No.
Thanks for this. Like and subscribe.
Job descriptions may help hiring, but not really your performance on the job. It doesn't really impact that.
So what we're going to do today is talk about job descriptions and how they're the wrong artifact for clarifying who makes what decisions. We're going to break down why writing tasks into job descriptions might only buy you false comfort, a little temporary relief. Just saying, you might need to see a real doctor. We'll explore why some of that startup ambiguity that was actually magic early on may kill your company. And then we're going to talk about why executive meddling into your roadmap, as one example, might actually be legitimate. That might be an interesting topic. And then we'll talk about the meta problem that nobody knows who owns, who decides.
Yep. And as always, we will leave you with some takeaways at the end. So hang tight for a bit.
So here is the first category we're going to talk about. The instinct when roles are confused is to write it down, to get clarity and to put it in a job description or some kind of document somewhere. So the problem is job descriptions are hiring documents. They're written to attract candidates, and that's not really the best place to keep a living document of, on Tuesday, Om and I decided whatever needed to happen, and then Clint wrote it down somewhere. He was the one that decides between the two of us, and now we refer back to what Brian owns and is accountable for. Like, that's not really job description material.
It is convenient, however.
Is it?
For someone. Probably not for the applicant.
Probably not.
I would say.
Not really convenient for the hiring manager most of the time either.
Or convenient in the larger organizations where your folks that go out and do the recruiting aren't really parked anywhere near the hiring manager or,
the work.
Right, yeah, or the work.
I guess it depends on where it's sourced from too, right? Like a lot of times the hiring document's something that HR just pulls out of a file somewhere that who knows how old it is, who knows if it matches the actual role of what's needed, and then whether or not any kind of like if it's a backfill, right? I don't think we ask enough, like, is this still the role that we're hiring for? Like, is this still relevant to the team, or is the team going in a new direction? So I don't think the hiring manager has enough conversations with the people doing the work and then the people shaping product direction and things like that before throwing a job posting out there.
Ooh, I got a good one. It was from the networking event. It was the people writing job descriptions only know how to swing into polar opposites. Looking for product unicorns right now is like in vogue. It's I want someone who has great product sense, or they might actually say great product taste. And someone with 10 years deep industry expertise, and someone who, and has great presentation skills. Good luck. Or the complete opposite side, like totally watered down job description that, you got people applying for that they are completely not qualified because you obviously didn't hone the job description in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, one of the classics from not too long ago is just, when people were hiring for Agilists, they would simply just take this job description of old for a project manager, search and replace project manager for Scrum Master.
That's a great example. Sadly.
I think we're seeing some of that now also, though, because they're looking for an AI, whatever, right? AI product owner, product manager. And they take a job description that has more of the AI in it and liberally sprinkle that in the JD, but at the expense of some core product skills. Or at least that sounded like black and white, but it's maybe not at the expense of, but diluting the core product skills.
Yeah. Being a former middle manager who used to, I used to catch a lot of flack. Now that I'm thinking about this topic, I used to catch a lot of flack from HR about wanting to completely own the job descriptions, because I had a boss when I was a manager that really was very micromanagey. Like, they wanted to be included on there. They wanted to put their stamp on everything. You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't just let something pass through and be like, Brian's doing a good job. I delegated it to him. I trust he's going to get it done. They're like, I trust you're going to get it done, but I want to see the final draft. And then you see the final draft. Oh, one more thing. More thing. Yeah, that was my boss. To make a long story even longer, I think I'm the perfect person on this podcast to argue against. So I would expect one of the against points to say the act of sitting down and writing does force the conversation that people are avoiding. At least you're documenting it, so it's handled.
Yeah. Just for the sake of argument, let me take the other side of it.
That was not a yes and. That was that was a but. Stop.
Yeah.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah. So from a perspective of that manager, maybe what they want to do is ensure success by making sure you don't hire the wrong person. So they're putting, quote unquote, guardrails around you. That's how I've seen it go down. But the guardrails aren't guardrails. They're rigid walls usually. And you're just simply checking a box at that point.
That's right.
They could just get someone else to do the work instead. I mean, you have no say in this.
Right.
Typically is what I've seen in practice. But yeah, the way it's parlayed is just to make sure that, you're hiring the right person, Brian.
Those guardrails end up being along the lines of do this. Not, this is what I'm thinking for this.
I remember a long time ago now, I was hiring for a technical role, hands-on, right? But also for somebody who was a forward deployed engineer. We didn't call it that. In that case, they call him a suitcase project manager.
Sorry, that was a forward deployed project manager. Oh my!
Yeah. That's what it was. Forward deployed.
Little retroactive continuity on the podcast. A little retcon.
Yeah. So essentially, the boss at the time, he had a person in mind, and for the interest that he had in that, you should really interview this person, see what you think.
Just want to ask.
That's how the initial thing.
Just want to ask, was he related to this person? Because in my story, he was.
He was a friend. So while not a familial relationship, he was a friend. And the way it was presented to me is, you should take a look at this guy. I think he's got something to offer.
Yeah.
And it went very quickly from there.
Yeah.
To we need to hire this guy before he leaves and works somewhere else. I'm like, really?
Why?
Yeah, because he said so, and he was a friend of this guy.
Yeah.
As it turned out, we did hire this person. Within 6 months, we also fired that person.
That sounds right.
Not saying if that was related
Quality.
to the hire or not. It might have been for a lack of core skills, lack of customer skills, because you're on site after all. Such a waste of time and money.
It's just more considerations that need to be taken into account that sometimes people don't think about. But in that situation, you were gonna lose that one. There was no bringing that up.
I was definitely on a lose-lose. Yes.
I'm glad you told that story, Owen, because it actually fits very well into my top point. The cynical view of this is, hey, listen, we did our job. We documented it. We did what you asked for. We check the box, rubber stamp, whatever you want to call it. But also the academic here is sort of the exact same. They're parroting the same thing. They're saying, role clarity. It requires explicit documentation. We had the meeting. These are the takeaways from it. We were all there. We signed off.
And all other duties as assigned.
Yeah.
It's like the cover of all sins right there.
To finish my case, Your Honor, the last point here, I feel is pretty bulletproof about the job description. Is the normal practitioner, normal product manager, whoever just trying to do a job is going to say, I've never looked back to my job description to wonder, am I in charge of the final say of this thing or that thing?
The academic point, ironically being called academic, is the wrong word to use is clarity, because you're not looking for role clarity at that point. You're looking for accountability.
The academic, as far as we're concerned here on the podcast, is basically the person on the internet who's like writing books or giving talks in big rooms and waving their arms around.
Who's never done this for a living?
Who's never done it before. This is not the person who does it every day.
You know who you are.
Because the practitioner who's doing it every day is going to listen to this section and be like, that's great, Brian, right? Like, have a decision log or whatever, but like, I've never seen that and no one's ever done it before, so this is useless information to me.
I just refer to the RACI.
Or the DACI. DACI? What was the other one? Ovis?
I prefer something like that.
Listen, if we're going to play games, I prefer Ovis from the episode that we had a couple of episodes ago where one person just tells us and then they just point at two people to be their henchmen and be like, you and you. you just follow. I don't know why I'm a villain from the 1920s now. Like, you just follow me around and then say yes. That's right, Ovis. That's a real framework.
Oh,
Ovis. Oh, man, I got a podcast for you. I don't even know if maybe it's not live yet. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know. We get some better points here. Oh, yeah. Role confusion, I think, was that was the original thing, Clint, that we were talking about. With the role confusion is your job description don't help you when you're working. Like if you're working as a product manager and you have a technical lead, and the technical lead says we can't build that now because we got this technical debt and we'd have to re-architect, and the product manager says, oh, I don't care. Like, this is the most important thing, so do it.
Yep.
Let's get it done. I'll tell you what not to do, because I've been there many times. I own all developers and they all work for me, so we're not doing that, because that just gets you labeled as difficult to work with.
Not a team player.
And not a team player, right?
Closer to that revolving door.
And I will tell you what you're going to hear to know you're in that situation. You're going to hear your boss say, just figure it out. Just figure it out.
Reach a compromise.
Occasionally, your boss might say, we're not doing that, or more likely, do it come what may, because we can't afford to lose this sale.
Figure it out. When you get into conflicts like that, and you sit down and hash out who actually does have what decision, it needs to be written down somewhere. It needs to be logged somewhere. The normal Agile teams, like I would, if someone were like at a networking event and was bringing this topic up, first of all, I say thank you for bringing a good topic up, because I can't stand hearing more stuff as the topics that people bring up. But I'd say thanks for bringing this topic up, because this is like a real thing. How do you know you're in this conflict? And then, what is the decision log? How do you even create that? And because I would think, what I would say without hearing any deeper into the story is put it into your working agreement once you decide between you, and that would be the decision log that I would use. But that's just the team. You know what I mean? You don't have a decision log between you and your boss, or a decision log between, managers of different departments that overlap and that kind of thing.
Yeah, team level working agreements are fairly well known. What is less well known is what do you do, as far as working agreements, either laterally, meaning across teams, or vertically, so mid-level management, leadership. I've seen ways of working type of documents created here, but they tend to be a little bit more vague. In these circumstances, thou shall escalate or whatever. Yeah. But you can't really get down to the detail that's needed, because decisions change all the time. Like the circumstances where you need to make these change.
I mean, I don't know. I'm doing pretty good on my Steelman defense points here. Like the decisions should not change. Like that tells me there's a problem in the organization if the decisions are changing. Like if I'm the product manager for Brian's fantastic product, any decision about Brian's fantastic product should come to me. That's it. Like there shouldn't be technical leads making product decisions. And if your question
from that perspective, yes. But, if you've made these things explicit at some point in the past, now you've got to go and update them, because you have different things that you have to consider. Like, for example, you're embedding AI into this, right? Mm-hmm. So what's to stop it from doing whatever it wants? Who decides the latitude that AI has in your product?
Let's say Clint and I are both product owners or product managers, right? Clint has Clint's fantastic product and I have Brian's fantastic product. We're both in the fantastic product suite, by the way. It's great. It's fantastic. Did you know that? We both want to embed AI in our products, and we both have our own development teams, right? So the development lead, like the development lead, is going to say, we need to build some kind of shared component or something like that. But my team is off. Like I don't have any bandwidth for whatever, a certain period of time. And Clint's saying, well, I'll just do it now and put it in my product now. Maybe some executive somewhere else is like, wait a minute, we don't even know if like AI is good, and what vendor are we going to go with? Like Clint's team is just going to choose Google as our provider. Like, I don't want to do that. How do I know anything about Google? Maybe we want to use Anthropic, or maybe Daddy Dario scared me on the internet and I I don't want to use Anthropic. So Clint, so you understand what I'm saying? Is like Clint's just going to make it.
My point. So those decisions weren't there as considerations in the past, but now they are.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by they change.
The other thing, you should at least have some strategic guidance from like the SLT or the C-suite or whatever you want to call them on what direction and considerations go into that.
Right.
So that you can at least kind of bring like my fantastic product would at least bring Brian's product owner in.
Yeah.
And like, hey, you know, what are your limitations? Because you can at least put that together even if you don't have the dedicated time.
Yeah.
So that we can take those considerations into our research and share that. Hopefully, if it's not, you know, if we're competing for funding, which if we are, Clint's fantastic product's going to win.
I mean, maybe. Maybe.
And that's the other thing that's not going to be in a job description is the strategic guidance that settles those kind of things without having to escalate and make a decision. Well, if you have that level of direction from the SLT, then you don't need the job description. You don't need a RACI. Like, these are the things that are going to win out. And it's documented in Black and Confluence to be able to make that decision. So it should settle those out, even though there's no clear-cut decision matrix on this person's opinion matters more than this person's. As long as the strategic direction matches, you should be allowed to make that. But the problem comes when you have two super capable people who are both able to spin both their priorities into that strategic direction, and then you need to escalate. But you also got to walk the fine line between, okay, if I take all these weird issues and disagreements and priority conflicts that might come up into account when I'm writing this documentation, it's never going to end because there's always another what if. So it's the balance between that and then being too vague where nothing gets done ever and every decision needs to come to you.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that we ended up agreeing on in this section was stop writing job descriptions as a purely marketing / external tools, and some kind of we don't know what it is this early in the podcast. We have other sections to talk about exactly what it is, but start naming who holds each decision right and put them somewhere. I started this note that's on the screen now with into the job descriptions, but then when I was doing the prep, that doesn't make sense. Like, they can't go in the job descriptions because then the job descriptions will just become bloated 15-page messes as time goes on. Hopefully not, because hopefully your roles are evolving. Listen, if one person is doing so many things that over time their list of what they make decisions on grows to the point where they have several pages.
It's a different podcast, I think.
Yeah. So what's your last decision that your team argued about? Let us know in the comments. And bonus points if you ended up with one single name that owned the final call. All right. Turn up the difficulty setting just one little tick because, you know, we're still casual over here, all right? What if some of that role ambiguity that you're trying to end was actually the secret sauce that made your startup work in the first place? We've already made the declaration that job descriptions are the wrong place to put decisions, but what feels like magic at a company of 10 people is pure chaos at a company of 100 people. So that ambiguity that you're trying to preserve, it does not scale. It certainly doesn't scale, and that thing that you feel like when you're scaling well, you can smell, like, that's burnout. That's what that's called. It's a compounding debt of stress, heroics, and invisible work that nobody owns. That's what it is.
Ooh, that might be news to some people out there.
I don't know, maybe.
Oh boy.
Part of this is behavioral. You know, startup founders want the same level of control at 100 people as they did at 10 people, right? They're scaling up, but they find it hard to let go because that's how they grew, by having control and having the org move in a certain direction. But now, if they ease off the gas, it could go anywhere, and they just can't take that chance, right? That's what I've seen very often with startups.
Yeah.
They lose good people, unfortunately, in the wake of that, because people that you trusted when you were 10-person strong, and now you're questioning those people as you get to 50 and scale up even higher. So you go from the small to a medium-sized org. That's where I see a lot of casualties. People just leave, and you lose good people, or they're fired.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a solid maybe on this one. I don't know if you expected me to go with a solid maybe, but I'm going to try to stay on the Steelman side of this podcast. The founders want to maintain the same level of control at 100 people that they had at 10. I'm going to say Yeah, of course. Of course they do.
What's missing though?
You can't. Like,
Right.
What's missing is the expertise that you need to acquire to have that quote control. I'll say quote control because it's not what you really need to do is you really need to give up total control.
Yes.
And then learn a different skill. The day-to-day is going to be ambiguity all day. But any of the employees that we have should be trained enough or expert enough to jump on it and figure it out and get it done. Then I think that's the level of control that we're really talking about.
Is it control or is it trust? Or is it both? Maybe. Because you got to trust your employees to do the right thing at the right time.
Right.
And then let go of that.
The other one that I think is a misconception, right, is was the magic the fact that you were 10 people? Or, oh man, I love how this applies everywhere. So, a guy once wrote a book called Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and it took me a long time to learn how to say that guy's name. Was it that more, so there's conditions for flow and everybody argues how many there are, but was the magic that the one person was in control and they were able to get feedback to everybody and make all the decisions all the time, all at once? Or was it that the feedback was quick, the boundaries were clear, people were empowered to be able to make their own decisions within their scope because they were more trusted, which was the point that you brought up?
Yep.
Or was it just good old guiding everybody around and my decisions saved the day and made the company huge? I think it was closer to achieving flow for everybody, that faster feedback because the CEO's right there, the founder's right there to be able to make the decisions. And then when that scales, they want to keep the experts who are doing the work close to the work while adding a bunch of people in between them and the founder or them and the CEO, or not elevating them into those roles.
Right. Yeah, that's why it was difficult, to answer your question about control, because it assumes that when the company was small, the founder had the need for control in the first place. And I don't know if I want to make my argument. If I make my argument on that assumption, I'm going to lose my argument. The founder if they only gravitated towards being controlling, it was because when the company was small and there were 5 people or whatever, and everybody did everything, the chain to the decision maker was extremely short. The turnaround time was extremely short. Like literally, we could all be sitting in one room every single day and turn to the other, or, if we're remote, you go to Slack and you hit me up on Slack and I respond immediately because it's on my phone. And, I'm a founder. I never sleep or whatever, right? It's that level of the decision chains are very, very tiny. They're very close to the work and the worker, and they're very quick turnarounds. Like the better part of that would be at some point, founder would need to decide, I don't need say in this thing anymore. And I completely did say, I trust you to do. It's basically what Dario is claiming that AI does, but in actuality, it's what people do. Is you say you're now going to be responsible for all of process A, and or Clint, you're now going to be responsible for everything involving Clint's fantastic product.
The point you're making is really, I think, the nexus of what David Marcus says, right? Mm-hmm. Bring the authority to the information. As he was commanding the nuclear sub, that's what he did. He didn't make all the decisions because he knew the information lived further down, and he empowered them to make the decisions. Mm-hmm. But if you're growing as an org from a 10-person org to 100-person, you really do have to have that. I mean, delegation is just one thing, right? But you have to have the trust that the person's going to do the right thing.
That's the part that he doesn't. So the submarine story, the Navy's nuclear power program, there are a lot of training that goes into that before you get to that point.
Yeah.
And even on the non-nuke side, the sub, there's a lot of training that goes into that before you get to that point. So it's very easy to tell a bunch of civilians, like, you just move the authority to the work. That's all you have to do. But what they don't tell you is the person I'm delegating this authority to is highly trained in their area, right, and understands what I want them to do, or like the goal of what I'm telling them, right, to do.
It's a shared context. Yeah.
Right. Fair point. But I think the corporate equivalent to that would be, hire the right people and then train them. to do their
Right.
job, as opposed to training. Well, you learn that in your own time, right? Which is something I see all the time.
You're setting up my pushback right now, Om. You're doing my job. Listen, we're gonna switch chairs here in a second because you're doing my job for me too well. Corporate America typically is not going to train you. No, they're not going to put any money into you. Basically, you're a car that they're driving for the next 100,000 miles, and then they, or the next 40,000 miles actually, and then they're leasing a new one basically, and they're not going to put any money into it. The story of corporate America was putting money into folks and retaining folks and keeping a staff at a certain level of expertise, because if you don't want to do that, the opposite of that is role specialization, which will increase the larger the size of your organization. So your organization gets larger, and then you start putting boxes around a bunch of people that work in specialized roles and say, these people can't make any decisions that have to do with whatever, whatever's outside their specialty. Now you're basically pulling decisions away from large swaths of people. And now in that setup truly becomes like, I've removed the decision-making ability of any of these people because they're only here to do a very small, specialized job. And I don't value their opinions outside of that very small, specialized job, which is a slippery slope to, and I don't value their opinions. Yikes. Shower time.
Oh, boy. Yeah, absolutely. Jeepers. But keep going, because you've got 1 million shares that you're going to, cash out.
I don't think that's true at all. Cash in, sell out, bro down. I don't know what that.
There's a fourth one somewhere.
I don't know. So I've got some points here, and I don't know if any of these undermine my argument. I think ambiguity at scale is compounding debt. So in a startup, when I am doing something and I don't know what the right move is, or right decision, or who makes the decision, I go to my boss, who's probably the founder or whatever, and then we clarify it, and then I know who makes the decision and what it is. And when we scale, now we're 200 people, I might not even know who to go to anymore.
And the other question is, when you're in that startup environment and that decision gets made, do you know why the decision was made that way? I don't want to say justification, because it's not like the founders aren't trying to hear they justified their position to a developer.
Well, it's just context. It's just context.
Rationale, maybe.
Yeah, is the context and the thought process behind that given to set them up to be able to make these decisions in the future? Because that's the compounding debt on the other side of that, is like, if they come to you for every decision, the cognitive load on any kind of leadership position is going to be terrible.
Yeah. Well, I would tag Omen at this point to say, at some point, I don't think that founder is going to scale very well if they don't learn the coaching ability to be able to ask the employee, what do you think we should do?
That's right.
And then why do you think that? Growing their employees by putting it back on them. You tell me. This
is when I hire a consultant company to tell me how to coach people, right?
Pay them by the slide.
Oh, no. Oh, we got to move on. Like, I can't. This is too good. This is too good. Like, what you lose in scaling? Shared context, direct trust, immediate feedback. You don't lose ambiguity by scaling. Like those org charts you make with the pyramid scheme, or like, I don't know why I keep calling it. Man, that's gonna be. It's got to be in the thumbnail for this episode. Is the
role maxing pyramid?
The role maxing pyramid. All the job titles. That's right.
How many squares can you get?
Anyway, so I was talking about what you lose. You lose shared context, direct trust, immediate feedback. I think you can preserve the startup energy and have clarity when you grow, but it requires you to continually have conversations and then to write them down and to keep dividing where your founder is not, under the amount of cognitive load where they're basically useless. They're a complete slave to their calendar.
They're buried.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And very few people do that. The founder trap, the real startup trap, founder trap here is if they want startup control at scale, and they don't ever develop any of these skills.
Or the people.
Yes. If there are takeaways here, they're going to be super quick. Stop protecting ambiguity as startup culture. Stop protecting ambiguity and calling it startup culture. Calling ambiguity startup culture, because it's not. Like, the startup culture has the greatest shot to be the most straightforward, informed, culture that there is. And then start separating decision rights from execution. So you can, hey, what do I do in this case? And then somebody tells you, and that's it. That's like, it's done as part of execution, and then everyone goes back to work and everyone forgets that we actually made a decision about, how to work.
So whatever artifact you use to kind of keep track of these decisions. That's a living, breathing thing.
Right.
That's dynamic, right?
Right.
It needs to be updated as and when needed.
Oh boy.
Have you ever worked somewhere that used "we're a startup" as an excuse for role chaos? Let us know how it ended in the comments. And it did end.
I can't scale any farther.
Can't scale. We already scaled all the way. So, but now we're going to talk about the one executive who keeps overriding your roadmap. Do they actually have the right to do that, or should they get out of my office? I was going to say, get the of my office. I can't do that because we don't curse on the podcast. So we talked about the job descriptions and role ambiguity of working in a startup. Now let's talk about the thing that actually gets product managers to go on Reddit tirades on our product management. So when an executive overrules a product person or the VP of sales commits to something that will be done on the roadmap by their time frame. So that actually might be right. The salesperson might own the P&L, or whatever, the VP of product or whatever might own the P&L.
How do you know? Would that be documented somewhere?
It sounds like something that would be straightforward, but in my experience, it never is.
So executive intrusion. That's what we're going to talk about next.
I mean, you can call it that if I'm, again, this is another easy one for me who has been the manager before to be on the opposite side of. It's also easy for me to be on the opposite side in product because maybe not 50-50. Maybe it's been like 70-30 where I have the actual budget versus I don't. With 30% being I have the actual budget and 70% being that I don't. One that I always default to that I get in the most fights about is the cynical Steelman point here that says whoever owns the P&L owns the roadmap. The way I say it to people is whoever owns the P&L is the real product manager. That's the way I say it to people.
Yeah.
And oh boy, does it rub people the wrong way when I say it.
Without a P&L, you're basically just a proxy. You're not really owning the product or managing. Take your pick.
Man, Clint, you like the academic. You like decision rights should align with accountability scope. You like the academic one here. Like I get theoretically, like decision rights should align with accountability.
It's the logical step. The rest of it is emotion and ego.
On one hand, yes, it should, but on the other hand, it's very rarely have I ever seen that be true. Even I like that. Like, luckily, I can like not take a job if things don't smell right. But even the overwhelming majority of places that I worked, the director of product or VP or whatever owned the budget, and they didn't want to tell you. I know how much money generally people make, and I know how much money the product brings in. What are you trying to hide? So it's always been excuses.
That's a nice new Land Rover they have in the parking lot.
I told that story on another podcast today. The guy came in with his new Beamer. There was no bonuses for anybody in the development department. No, 2% bonuses all around. But he came in with a new Beamer. Yeah, he was another one of these. I own the budget. It's complicated. Finance, PE. It's very complicated.
Oh,
it doesn't seem that complicated.
It's not complicated at all. Yeah.
It seems like the more the team you offshore, the more expensive car you buy. That's what it seems
There's
like.
Direct correlation right there.
I don't need a chart for that or a data scientist. It's a direct correlation. Oh, man. The typical one is the practitioner, which this is one I feel for. I'm the PO in name and sales or VP or whoever that really decides everything.
What's that? We had somebody at the networking event that was pretty much like, what do I do?
Right.
Right. The only thing, if you don't own the P&L, you can. I think they were telling them like show how these decisions will move that.
Right.
And
they were telling him a lot of things like that, and I think I think somebody said like just keep cashing your paychecks. I think that was another one. Maybe that was Ohm's suggestion. It sounds like a very Ohm. So like
I said that
your
money's
resume
still
updated.
real, man. It hits your bank. Keep doing it and keep that resume updated.
That's right. Keep your resume updated and keep cashing your checks. And I think mine was talk to more customers than they do. I think that was my suggestion.
Yeah. Right.
Is what he was describing. That was the way that shop sounded. Mm-hmm. They needed to be scared of what you were going to say.
And then if it's like that in the first place and you do that, what are the odds that you're still going to be there after they're afraid of you?
Oh, no. No, absolutely not. No.
You're gone. So cash the paycheck, keep the resume updated.
It seemed to me the only pragmatic solution at the time.
First of all, I just want to say you guys are doing a great job on my side of the
Yeah, I mean, it's some of these when you get into those toxic cultures, there's not much you can do. But I mean, And then going back to the role description, the whole role description thing is when you go to hire somebody, is it either going to be a super fine unicorn, or is it going to be so broad that you cast a super wide net so you can get everybody, and then the hiring manager nitpicks you down to like 3 people that don't correlate at all. The resume makes no sense to somebody normal reading it.
The nice thing about a super generic, watered down resume that your boss's boss fought you on to eliminate a lot of the specific stuff is then they can lobby to hire their person in there and have that one person in your program being their eyes and ears.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I got eyes and ears.
Yeah, it's been a while.
With eyes and ears.
Internal spy.
Yeah. So there's some good points here. Like, hey, set a strategic direction, communicate your intent and goal, and then let delegated decisions, just let them go. Hey, because you can, like, in coaching, you should be able to follow up on any decision that you don't necessarily agree with, or you as a leader, right? Or as a hiring manager. Hey, I don't agree with you hiring this person, or I don't like this thing. Hiring a person is probably not a great example, because you probably do want to. I'm trying to think in my situation where the boss in my situation, he never did interviews. He never got in the business of interviews. He wanted to have to say in job descriptions and stuff like that. But real close to the end, he did start getting in interviews, but it was embarrassing because he was the kind of interviewer that he didn't read the resume until he got in the room with the person. And I'm like, why are you even here, dude? What you're embarrassing me in front of the children. Like, come on, man.
I do so much prep work.
Yes, I know.
I
feel like I know these people inside and out by the time I get there, and I'm like, you go to have the conversation afterwards. Well, what does everybody think?
Right.
And you're like, well, their answers came off a little bit this way, and you're like, coming from the medical industry, they're gonna look at things a little bit like this, and they're faster turnaround, or this person was in more on the data side, so they're gonna, all depending on what you want.
Yeah. The one I don't like in this category is I don't like when an executive says, trust me, I have more contacts than you. I don't like that.
That's the old, in product management, right? Trust me, the customers would love it. Just go build it.
Right, yeah.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah. That's a hippo card that gets thrown down. It's like a trump card or a Uno reverse card gets thrown down, and you're like, sorry, it's not an Uno reverse card, because at least then you had to be lucky to have the card in your hand. It's just,
Right.
It's basically flipping the table over and be like, I win.
What extra context do you have so that I don't have to come to you for this later?
Right. Yes. Especially if they're not, especially if we've actually sat down, like we talked about in the first category, and talked about and written down, these are the decisions that I'm supposed to make, so that we don't have to grind our whole organization to a halt and try to get a hold of somebody at, something, early in the morning or whatever, are a great example for me. Because I can't tell you the amount of time that somebody, I invite a stakeholder to a refinement because they have knowledge that the whole team needs to have. They could just tell me and I could write down what the thing is, but then the whole team will only know what I was thinking to ask, and then the translation of whatever I wrote down. So there's a funnel that just happened there. Whereas if I bring the stakeholder into the refinement meeting and I'm asking questions in front of the whole team, and somebody on the team interprets something in a different way, they can ask a clarifying question, and we all have working relationships with each other, so they don't mind stepping over me. I don't care if they interrupt, that kind of thing. I have had stakeholders who big league me. You guys know what big league is, right?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes I said that in front of another audience. They had no idea what I was talking about. Like, I'm in the big leagues. I'm not even going to bother showing up to your meeting, the meeting I was invited to or whatever. I'm like, cool. And then they wonder why I deprioritized their feature, because I'm like, well, you didn't show up to give the context of the team.
You don't care enough.
I'm taking it out of the roadmap, and since I have final decision about my product,
Since you're so big league, we're pulling you in
we
can get custom with this job.
Oh, man.
But you don't care enough because you didn't show up.
Random overrides will hollow out authority and train the org to wait. They'll train the people in the org to wait for the hippo to come in. So nobody will make decisions anymore. They'll just wait for the hippos.
Enter the decision latency, Right. So by definition, they'd better be infrequent if they're random.
Yeah.
And then even after, if that person tries to step away from doing that, they'll continue to.
Right. Yeah.
They gave us direction.
Right.
Here's the intent behind what they want and the outcome that they want. We can get there. It's like, so I love using this for trying to communicate, when I'm coaching people on how to adjust what they're saying and the direction they're given based on the audience, right? And where they're at and building trust with their teams. How you tell a 2-year-old to get from point A to point B is different than how you tell a teenager or an adult to get from point A to point B. The toddler, you're going to tell them, look both ways before you cross the street. Make sure there are no cars coming that you can see, and then cross as quickly as possible and get to point B. And you're going to turn left here, right here, blah, blah, blah. And this is why. And you explain those things so that they have, cultural, behavioral context of how the world works and to get there. Whereas an adult, I would just tell Brian, meet me at Walmart on 19 at 2:30. And Brian is going to make all necessary, hopefully, decisions to get to Walmart at 2:30.
He's only going to step in front of the most expensive Rolls Royce because that's how we roll in this country. They can afford it.
I'll be looking at my phone while I'm on the crosswalk. I need to be told not to look at my phone while walking.
When you do those things and you build that context with the team, they stop having to wait on you, and you're just able to tell them a general outcome that you want, and they'll get there. But you got to give them the space to get there. It's my team has autonomy. I let them do things all the time on their own.
They do everything I tell them to do.
That's right.
Every single time.
I tell them exactly what to do. You can't just dictate every detail. You need to, if you want to grow the team and you want to scale, and the same thing rolls into role descriptions.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. It's the same thing in there. You can either go through and you could detail every task that you want this role to be able to do, or you can give the general idea, which allows you to cast just a wide enough net. You call out your specific areas that you want some focus or some expertise or experience in, and then you let it go from there. And you set up your boundaries, right? If impacts more than 2 teams, bring this decision to next level up, escalate.
Right.
But again, the job description, role description, not the right place to iron out those boundaries,
right? Because
you're trying to attract talent.
If we have a takeaway here, it's stop fighting executive override rights, because you're going to lose every time.
Right.
That's why. And then start making them explicit, transparent, and predictable. So, like a predictable intrusion by management, you can handle that. Okay, you can deal with it. You can handle it, and it won't devolve the whole culture all at once, at least in one swoop anyway. Yep. So surprise intrusions are chaos. It's the job of any executive or manager or leader, whatever you want to call it, to make their override pattern visible and documented if possible. And please, that doesn't mean that you just put in, does whatever the manager or product management tells you to do, and don't put that in the job description. Don't do
through that. Indeed.
Oh my God.
Stop overriding, and like you said, start making them explicit, transparent, and predictable. Which is, you're giving that context behind. So the whole thing we've talked about somebody mentions intent on a submarine.
Yeah.
But you're giving that context so that they can make those decisions and eventually stop doing that.
Right.
But it's the difference between, hey, don't forget to brush your teeth before you go to bed, and stop playing the video game, turn it off, go brush your teeth.
Right.
Hey, don't forget to brush your teeth before you go to bed. Did you brush your teeth?
Yep.
Oh man, I need to brush my teeth before I go to bed. And hopefully that starts happening on its own.
Yep.
So, has an executive ever overridden a decision that you thought that you owned? Let us know in the comments if they really explained why and what their reasoning was, and if they gave you all the context to make you feel good about it. We will wait.
A long time.
Not that long, though, because we've got to move on to the deepest of the deep problems. Who decides? Who decides? Because clarifying roles in itself is a decision rights question. And it is usually a question that is unowned.
If you're a startup, though, this is an easy question to answer. But beyond that, it gets murky pretty quickly.
It might not even be easy in a startup, because a startup can have multiple founders, and then they might be fighting about this. So, yeah, it's a meta problem. See, I spoiled it. I was going to say it's a meta problem, but not this meta problem. That's thought you guys would get a kick out of that. So if what I just said was true, clarifying roles is itself a decision rights question, and it's usually unknown, then that means that the org can't fix the thing, because fixing it requires authority, and that authority is what's in dispute. So you're stuck in a turf war. You're not sure you should be a jet or a shark, or sign on with the Zuck over here. Don't do that. We can all agree on that. I mean, the Steelman here is the easiest one to Steelman home. Is only someone with org-wide authority can decide those decision rights. They have to come from the top. Period.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%.
That's why we're here.
I mean, so the thing I've tried to do is look at who the decision impacts, right? But I'm on the people side. I'm kind of on the HR side, but not completely. Mm-hmm. So I try to look at, there's several parties you got to talk to, because the authority's got to be given in more ways than one, right? Unless you work for, EA, then it's never gonna happen. But you want to talk to the people. So from the HR standpoint, the right way to do that would be to talk to the people who the decision impacts and see who they think should make, where it should lay. You might not talk to them all together. Might talk to them apart.
Yeah.
And then, because the upper levels are going to delegate the decision authority, and you want to get the boundaries from them. And so you want what they're delegating off, what the boundaries are going to be, if it hits enterprise-wide scale or global or internet, whatever you guys are as a company, you set that boundary. If it hits this level, they need to come to me. Mm-hmm. Below this, they could do whatever they need to, as long as it aligns with strategic goals, and they can prove that. Yeah. And then you find out where that lays, and you get that documented. And the documentation isn't to refer to every time you need to know how to do your job. It's the accountability portion. You made this decision. It went good and or bad. And why did you make it? Well, as long as why you made it aligned with the stipulations that were there, you're fine.
Yeah.
You should be. Yeah. In a good company, you would be fine.
It's almost like there's a Venn diagram happening between and the Venn diagram is different functions of the role, like a financial function, product rights function, something else, right? And then they don't all evenly align over people, and some of them overlap, but a lot of them do. And that's what we're kind of describing. Is each one of those needs different clarity. Definitely needs to be written down somewhere.
Yeah, I like the idea of documenting the impact and what happened, and just finishing that off with how would you do this differently next time given the same circumstances.
See, I like the idea of documenting as well. Like the hang up though is with the cynic on this. It says HR owns the role clarity, not me. Like I'll push back on that one. I'll be the Sisyphus pushing that rock up the hill all day long. I don't think modern HR is trained at all to do this. The org design stuff doesn't live under HR. They don't know anything about it.
That's right.
Odd to me.
It's not just odd to me. It's tragic.
That brings up the question too, along with role clarity. Where is everybody learning how their organizations should be structured? Who's telling everybody this?
Their immediate manager.
Oh, I know.
In most cases.
I know. We just ask the CEO, and then he tells us.
If you have access to the CEO. I mean, if it's a small organization,
there you go. To lift the phrase from home, they're all muddling through it.
They are
badly.
Through, my friends.
It's badly.
It's kind of too who, what tells you that you're an adult, right? Oh, I'm an adult. I need to stop doing these things. It's the kind of thing like when a startup hits a certain point, they decide they need to grow up. And what?
Listen, you guys are knocking my arguments out of the park today. You're really doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Like I'll tell you what tells you you're an adult. The taxman tells you what you're an adult. But what you just brought up, like the practitioner, is what I hear in this argument right now. The practitioners are just going to say, listen, we tried to clarify role clarity. We tried to sit down and do this Venn diagram thing, Brian, and all we did was get in fights, and all we did was waste a bunch of time. And it took so long, and we don't need this anymore. I'll just ask my boss, and yes, it's a pain having him in the process or whatever, but it's better than spending all my time in meetings. This is the developer that doesn't know why anything gets done, that complains that they don't know when things change, but also they're over here crying that they got to spend time in meetings. I'm like, you need to be in the backlog refinements.
Just update the Jira ticket, Brian.
Sure.
That's right. A practitioner that says, we can't write down all of this stuff. It's complicated in our industry. We're different. We're special. So, no, you're not.
Agile doesn't do documentation.
That's right.
Decision rights allocation requires hierarchical authority. So if you're going to do decision rights, you need some kind of authority. Which I opened up. I opened up this category, basically saying that this is a more formal version of what I just said. I have a sidebar here. This is the instinct. The top-down role decrees have authority to stick, but the question is, do they actually match the work, or is it just a fiction because we asked the boss and he told us this is the way it does, but then when you actually look at the workers in the work, it doesn't mirror what the boss said at all, and the boss is not actually engaging. They're not, and they don't know about org design, and they actually don't know anything about the way the work gets done. So they're just making a decision because they want to make a fast B decision beats a slow A+ decision. They're that kind of person, and that's the genesis behind the RACI matrix.
Which, by the way, is a fictitious document.
We need you to-
in no circumstance a RACI stands true with regard to the 4 characters there, right? And individuals at the end of the day that are mapped into this thing.
So now we say, we need you. We need Ohm, the project manager. That's usually who will get tapped for this. We need Ohm, the project manager, to sit down and do a RACI matrix now for our whole organization and all the stakeholders, map everybody out and write everybody. This is such a project manager ask. It's so bold of an ask to think that a project manager can sit down and basically sketch out the architecture of how decisions get made in the whole organization and get it right and list every stakeholder for every decision. I understand I'm like exaggerating like the tiniest a bit, so it's only for this organization or for this whatever product or whatever it is, but like this document is useless and it's a waste of time.
Well, as someone who's done plenty of these in my sordid past,
Yes.
I can tell you this. As a project manager, you come up with a RACI.
Yeah.
And things start happening. Somebody will complain and say, hey, I really am not the A here. I'm not accountable.
That's right.
So you simply move their name to the responsible because it's the next responsible thing to do
And then everyone
as a
says,
project
"Not me."
manager. Right. So what point I'm making is a project manager iterates on this thing till kingdom comes, so they don't necessarily know anything, but it's a place to start. Right? That's the other side of the argument. It's like, well, why have a RACI? Well, it's a place to start at least. It also gives you, hopefully, some people you can tap if they're truly R's and A's here. Everybody else could be off the RACI altogether, especially the ones that are in the I, informed. Why do you inform me?
Right.
I don't need to know.
Yeah.
But if I didn't inform you, that'd be a miss.
Yeah.
Because you could turn around and say, nobody told me. So I'm going to put your name in the I column.
It sounds like you want RACIs to be iterative and not something that just gets done and then set aside forever.
Absolutely.
Listen, RACI is 100%, in my experience, something that a project manager just spends too much time, does it once, knocks it out, and then it's in concrete, in stone, or in reality, it's in a SharePoint somewhere that never gets looked
Google
at.
Drive. Yeah, agreed.
It gets
shouldn't
looked
be
at
that way, though.
when things go wrong. And you're right. You're right. It should be iterative. It should be living. And maybe we have an opportunity to bring the RACI into the 21st century and start using it.
Ooh.
Oh, no. What are you looking at?
Arguing Agile 262, HBR says consensus is dead, and proved it with consensus. That was a good episode. Is where we talked about one of the authors of the article that we reviewed in that was a BCG consultant. He was a senior director or something like that. I don't remember what his job was, but BCG they don't use RACI, they use OVIS framework. And don't ask me what OVIS stands for. Owns, veto, influence, and supports. Okay, but it's not what you think, because a single person owns the decision and the execution and resolving conflicts around it. And then 2 people have veto power, I believe. Or maybe 1 person has veto power, and then there's a limited amount of people with influence. But it's really meant to like consolidate power with like 1 person. That's really the whole point of OVIS. To not make the 1 person have to talk to too many people. I mean, that was basically what we got at. I'm really, really poorly representing OVIS. That was the idea. Yeah. BCG came up with their own little, pet model.
They know their audience, I suppose.
Yeah.
It does give you one neck to choke, if that's your objective.
Or legitimizes your grasp for all-encompassing authority.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to me ceding some ground here of the top-down decrees. We already talked about the top-down decrees. Like they need to match the bottom-up efforts. This is every Agile transformation I've been a part of. Top-down decrees don't work. Bottom-up negotiation needs a referee. So both are required. That's it. The fastest better points section we've ever done. And,
did we go through all of the points?
That's
though?
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So takeaway, stop trying to clarify rules without naming a referee or knowing who a referee is, right? And then start with who has the authority to settle disputes. Well, whatever that decision is.
Who's the arbiter?
Who is the arbiter?
Yeah.
Because most of the time, I'm telling you now, you're not even going to know.
That's right.
Like in the financial decision thing that we were talking about before, you don't even know who holds the reins to the budget. I mean, obviously, it's going to be someone in finance that bubbles all the way up to the CFO. But maybe that's your plan. Go straight to the CFO. Hey, who owns finance for this? Who owns the
For a
decision?
man in finance.
Oh, somebody's looking for a man in finance. His name is Sam Jippity Altman.
Oh boy, I knew he was going to come into the picture at some point.
He always does.
He does. Sneaky, that
he
guy.
needs to be in the $10,000 pyramid somewhere. He needs
Can we make something that just slides Sam Altman in randomly on your?
absolutely.
It should be a virus, like with the old school viruses that were just funny.
Yes.
Oh.
We absolutely can.
That'd be hilarious.
Listen, it doesn't even take any work. Like Sam Altman finds a way. So, who has the authority to settle role disputes on your team? And let us know in the comments. And feel free to tell us the truth.
Yeah, we have no name. Yes.
We don't know. That's fine. Oh, hey, let us know. So let's bring it all back home. Let's talk about something you can actually use on Monday morning. Let's talk about fixes. We're going to get our fix right now. That's what's going to happen. So we've walked through the job description traps. We've walked through the startup role ambiguity, executive overrides, and problems of who decides. And now we're going to talk practical fixes for these impractical problems. So no amount of improvements to the job descriptions are going to solve this. You need some sort of decision rights, log or overlap or Venn diagram or something, a living document that names who decides what, who updates it, and then what we do when things change or when questions come up. And that's right, another document no one will read.
Listen, this cynic I can go along with all day because nobody reads these things.
It's not really about reading though. It's about having boundaries for roles, because otherwise I don't know how you do this. You keep it all in your brain. That's how you do it. That is how people do it. Keep it all in their brain.
One person knows it, and then that person leaves, and then nobody knows what's going on.
Oh boy, you want to really find out things that you don't know organizationally that are not written down. Wait until people start leaving, and then you find out what they really did as a job.
But even in orgs that actually do document stuff, this still holds true, I think.
Yeah.
People don't read this. They don't know. Most of the people don't even know where to find such documents.
Well, that's the one thing is like it's buried in Confluence in like 4 different subspaces of subspaces.
Yeah.
One HR adjacent manager type pulls it out when they need to build a job description to list a role, and then it gets tucked back again. But like the other thing that we were talking about earlier is a lot of these are written in HR language.
Right.
So like what ensures stakeholder alignment.
What does that mean?
Great, man.
Yeah.
How do I apply that? Like what is
Or which stakeholders and in which situation and which
Yeah.
So
And these docs don't even get updated. We said that earlier, but yeah, it's true.
there's a few more points here that I think are really good, and this is probably the best Steelman I'm going to have. So I'm gonna chew the scenery here for a minute. Like the academic here is going to say, well, if you're going to have any kind of decision rights framework or Venn diagram or whatever, probably the Venn diagram is. If I actually tried to sketch this out,
good one.
It's probably a good one, right? Because otherwise it'd be like weird borders that go around tiny, like finance would, like the product manager would have a little tiny sliver of finance, but they wouldn't have like governance of finance of the whole organization.
This is a kind of a distorted Spotify model almost. You're
It's-
drawing borders all around everywhere between tribes. And
It's like a Spotify model,
Codes
except we actually need it, and it actually has to function, and we actually have to use it. And also, no one's going to get famous by posting it. We're just going to use it to help ourselves. For more fun on Spotify, see Arguing Agile 246, the Spotify model, the viral org design that never existed.
Right now, this one probably get cut out too. Sorry, I'm killing your editing.
Luckily, Fable fixed my editing, so we're all right.
All right. No, we were watching a video that came up that was Spotify walking through their redone headquarters.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "This is why you raise my prices?"
Yeah.
No, and she canceled it on the spot.
Oh man.
And I was like, all right, I've been telling you to do that forever, but
Dude,
this is what
You know the other thing about the Spotify that's wild is they're like in office call. Well, I thought they were a remote company, but were they never a remote company? They were always in office.
when they came out with the model, they weren't remote.
Yeah, okay. So they were never a remote company. And then the other one in this category that excites me the most is the practitioner who says, "Look, I just need to know who to ask about this thing. I don't care about your org design or where HR sits or whatever that might have got to cut out of the podcast. I don't know, maybe. Like, I just want to know who to ask.
I just work here.
That's it. I just work here.
That's the when I'm looking at it to fix something, because I have people come to me and like, hey man, who do I go to for this? And I'm like, oh, it's in Confluence somewhere. And then I read the document. I'm like, oh, that's not in there.
Yeah.
So we sit down. Or again, we try to sit down with everybody and figure out where that's supposed to be, and then document it. But it comes down to the cynical view of another document that no one's going to read.
Right.
Why? Because I don't want to wade through 6 oceans worth of HR speak just to know. I want to know who to ask.
You would like. There's so much tech in like the typical. For me in like the software development world, there's so much tech that's in like your normal stack. It feels like every company uses the same like 5 tools or whatever. They all use Slack. They all use some kind of email. Like that kind of stuff. You would think that there'd be somewhere in like your Slack bio or something like that to have a link to your little Venn diagram of if you have decision authority. I mean, some people truly have. They're just a specialist doing a specialist job, and they have to bubble all their decisions up. But other people that actually have decisions that they have the authority over, why is that not just visible? It's like finding out where somebody is on the org chart. Like usually in companies, you can dig and find the org chart, then you can find out where somebody is. It's a little bit of a pain sometimes, depending on technology, but usually you can do that. But you can't find this. Brian is, Brian's fantastic application. Well, what are the borders of Brian's fantastic app? Okay, you can't just decide to make corporate agreements with Gemini or whatever. How does anyone know that that's not in my wheelhouse? I can't decide to change a price in my application. There you go. There's another border that nobody knew about. It's time for a price hike. We're Spotify over here.
Because you don't truly own your product, your fantastic product.
Random and frequent. So there's some better points here, which I think we all agree with. The decision rights log beats the job description. I mean, we already said multiple times job description is not the right place. The log has to have an owner. It's got to be a living document. We already talked about that. And then the other things we didn't talk about is like the goal here is visibility to the decisions, the transparency to who makes what decision. So the goal is visibility. Like we're not trying to do the RACI metrics and hit every single person in the whole organization plus stakeholders plus whatever. Like that's a waste of time. Don't do it. I'm talking about RACI. Sorry.
Yeah, also, don't use any of these artifacts as a blame tool, right? That's not the idea. Number 3, start small. Now we have AI everywhere. AI could be snooping in on your meetings and stuff, which it's already doing anyway, probably, right?
Don't worry,
etc. So AI could actually start to pull out some nuggets vis-a-vis, these decisions, right? And start to at least create a repo of some kind, which obviously is not enough, but it's a start. Right? So that's how you get ahead. Start small, but you can also use AI.
What you're proposing now is great. I've worked with a few executives, especially when I was the first product manager in the organization, that are going to hate this because they want the ability to basically maraud into any product decision because they remember a time when it was just them struggling to swim whatever upstream. I don't know why they're a salmon, but they remember they remember when they had the authority to do that. So they want to go into a customer and start talking about things that intersect with a roadmap. They're not going to say stop. Let me go come get Brian. They're just going to have the conversation.
But that is a problem. It's a scale up.
It is a problem, but it's also reality.
Yeah, I get that. So in the vein of trying to be helpful to those of us that are still listening here, right? Maybe just make them part of the, part of the solution, right? Just say, you own this as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
So they're not caught like on an island. I don't know.
Maybe, but also like I'm willing to say maybe that's a separate situation like that you could. Because you have to earn that person's trust slowly over time.
No doubt.
And you have to get them to remember to bring you along, in conversations that you previously were not included in. And again, I've been planning for like years, a whole nother podcast on that specific topic, being a first product manager. It does happen, But also there's some bosses that are not the first product manager. They just are overly controlling. They want to have, they want to be in every conversation.
Should we repeat that advice we always give then? If that's the case that you find yourself in?
Find a new job? What is the advice? I don't know.
Keep that resume up here.
Oh, that's right. That's right. There is a takeaway here. Stop writing job descriptions to solve. Stop trying to solve your decision confusion with job descriptions.
Right.
And also stop trying to solve it by just keeping it all in your head. Stop trying to solve it by ignoring it. There's a bunch of different stop trying to solve it by doing. And then just start writing it down. Start writing it down. It doesn't matter how you write it down. Start writing it down. Hey, I wrote it down, but then the document didn't go anywhere and we never updated. Okay, fine, but at least you wrote it down.
Remember where you put it.
Right.
And always remember where you parked your car. Or I just edited a podcast. I don't know if it'll go up before or after this one. We were going on and on about tying up your camel. I don't know what we were doing that day.
I remember that too. I don't know how we got into that.
I don't know either. It was a weird podcast. So what are some of your decisions that your team argues about? Let us know in the comments. And also let us know if you know who decides each one or not. And with that said, we're going to move out to the final sticky that I've got on the screen right here. So we started with the claim that your job description is a lie. We're finishing with a screen that you can pause on right here. We've got the 5 takeaways from this podcast written on. You can pause the podcast. You can copy them down on a sticky somewhere, put them on the side of your monitor so you can work on them in the next week at your work. And that's about it for this podcast. So I want to say thanks to Clint. Turn over the floor to Clint and or Ohm and see if you guys have any final thoughts.
I would add a revisitation cadence to that.
Okay.
Like when you're all the things that were up good, things change over time. Like Ohm said, it should be iterative, and you should decide on a cadence on how often that gets revisited, whether it's every fiscal year or every quarter. New products get created. New teams get spun up, spun down.
Yeah.
Things change. So make sure that, yes, you set this. Yes, things get added to it. But make sure you revisit it in like a regular attempted meeting and sort it out. See if everything still sticks. Good luck trying to line all the calendars up.
Ooh.
Right. Alrighty. Well, I just wanted to end on one note here. Intrusion is not the problem that you think it is. Because every time I come across this situation with clients, they go, those execs, they come down, intrude and interrupt all the time. That is not the real issue here. The issue is unpredictability when they come. So if you fix the situation as we've described in this podcast, you'll be able to better handle those little intrusions or whatever, extrusions, whatever you want to call them. Thank you very much for staying with us this long, and let us know what you think of this podcast in the comments below. Also, let us know about any other topics you want us to delve into. Like and subscribe while you're there.
And remember, every intrusion is an opportunity for contextual understanding.